In the heart of a bustling city, where glassed hours touched the clouds and wealth flowed like rivers, there lived a powerful family, the Perna family, a dynasty built on generations of hard work, business empires, and tradition. But like all dynasties, they had one unbreakable rule: the heir must be a son. When the matriarch of the family was about to give birth, the entire household waited with bated breath. Would it be the boy they prayed for, the one who would carry the family name forward? But fate had other plans. A baby girl was born, beautiful, healthy, but a girl. The disappointment was palpable. Whispers filled the corridors. The family's future seemed uncertain, but there was someone in that hospital who saw an opportunity. A nurse, a woman who had her own newborn, also a girl, but unlike the wealthy family. She had nothing, no money, no future, no hope, just bills and desperation. An idea formed in her mind, dark, twisted, but tempting. What if she could switch the babies? What if her daughter could live the life of luxury while the real heiress lived in poverty? Who would ever know? In the chaos of the hospital, in those fleeting moments when no one was watching, she made the switch. Two destinies exchanged in the blink of an eye. Years passed, 20 years to be exact. The switched child grew up surrounded by wealth, wearing designer clothes, attending the finest schools, living in a mansion that most people could only dream of. She was spoiled, entitled, and believed the world revolved around her. Why wouldn't she? She was the Perna heiress after all. Meanwhile, the real heiress grew up in a small, cramped apartment. She worked hard, studied by candlelight when electricity bills couldn't be paid, and learned the value of every single rupiah. She was kind, humble, and had dreams of making something of herself despite the cards she'd been dealt. She didn't know that her entire life had been stolen from her, but the universe has a strange way of bringing people together. The real heiress, now a young woman, caught the eye of the Perna family's eldest grandson. He was handsome, successful, and everything a woman could want. But more than that, he was kind. He saw something in her that he'd never seen in the wealthy circles he moved in: authenticity, genuine warmth, real love. They fell in love, against all odds, against his family's initial resistance. They got married. She became part of the Perna family, not knowing that she was actually returning to what should have been hers all along, irony at its cruelest. The nurse who had switched the babies all those years ago watched from the shadows. She had kept the secret buried deep, but secrets have a way of demanding to be heard. She was sick now, dying, and the weight of what she'd done was crushing her. But before she could confess, she told someone else, someone who saw an opportunity. This person, driven by greed, decided to use the information. They approached the fake heiress, the one who had lived the life of luxury for 2 decades, and told her everything. But instead of feeling guilt or remorse, the fake heiress panicked. This was her life, her identity, her wealth. She wasn't about to give it up. Together they hatched a plan. They would reveal the truth, but twist it. They would claim that the young woman who had married into the family was the switched child. They would make everyone believe that she had known all along and had married the grandson to steal the family fortune. It was a perfect frame-up. The fake heiress went to the family elders with tears in her eyes and a story that sounded just believable enough. She showed them the evidence, the hospital records, the testimony from the nurse's deathbed confession. But she presented it in a way that pointed all fingers at the innocent young woman who had just married into the family. The family was thrown into chaos, trust shattered, accusations flew. The young bride found herself suddenly treated like a criminal, a gold digger, a manipulator. The man she loved was torn between his wife and his family. The pressure was immense. The fake heiress didn't stop there. She whispered poison into everyone's ears. She suggested that the only solution was divorce, that the marriage should be annulled, that the young woman should be thrown out with nothing. But even that wasn't enough for her. She feared the truth would eventually come out. She feared that someday someone would dig deeper and discover that she was the real impostor. So she made the darkest decision of all. The young bride had to disappear permanently. Accidents happen after all. People fall downstairs, car brakes fail, food gets poisoned. It would be tragic, of course, but it would solve the problem forever. But the young woman was stronger than anyone expected. She had survived poverty. She had survived being an outsider, and she would survive this too. She began to notice things. Strange looks, dangerous situations that seemed a bit too convenient. Her survival instincts, honed from years of living with nothing, kicked in. She started investigating quietly, carefully. She found the real hospital records, the ones that hadn't been doctored. She tracked down people who had been at the hospital that night 20 years ago. Piece by piece, she uncovered the truth. The real truth. The confrontation was explosive. In front of the entire family, with evidence spread across the table, the truth came out. The fake heiress was exposed. The real heiress stood there, finally knowing who she really was. The family patriarch, a hard man who had built an empire, looked at the young woman he had accused and saw his own blood staring back at him. The fake heiress crumbled. Her world of luxury, built on a lie, came crashing down. The nurse who had started it all was already gone, taking her guilt to the grave, but her accomplice faced justice. In the end, the real heiress had a choice to make. She could embrace her birthright, take everything that had been stolen from her, and live the life she was meant to live. But she had learned something valuable in those 20 years of poverty. She had learned that family wasn't about blood or money. It was about love, loyalty, and sacrifice. She chose forgiveness, not because the people who hurt her deserved it, but because she deserved peace. She chose to build bridges rather than walls. She chose to use her newfound position to help people like the girl she used to be, struggling and dreaming of a better life. And the man she loved, he stood by her side through it all. Because real love doesn't care about bank accounts or family trees. Real love sees the soul. The dynasty continued, but with a new kind of heir. One who knew both worlds. One who understood that true wealth isn't counted in money, but in character. And that perhaps was the greatest inheritance of all.